Gonna do a special, Cornelius?
Next week I will.
Next week? He's practicing there, Connor. Did you hear him? He's very good. Very good. It's good to see Peter and Janet. So, yeah, what a rough old week. 2 weeks. 2 miserable lousy. 3, is it? Do I hear 4? No. So, no, that's been not good at all. So, yeah, continue to pray there. Recovery. You say off to doctor tomorrow, but then still a slow recovery from all of that. So, yeah, very good. Good. Yeah. And then Janet with her foot, like of all the weeks to do it, right in the middle of everything. So, yeah. Just is that what she wants? She was missing the sympathy. Spoken like a daughter. Very good. And Josh is over here as well. Tonight as well. He snuck in. He did an emergency dash to Collie this afternoon, and then came back up. So he's we laugh with you, but yeah. I have a letter here actually. Got posted all the way from the United States. This is from Brother Farinella. And I just happened to check the mail today, and I never checked the mailbox. And so this is dated from 17th of October. I don't know when it got here. Let's just blame it on the mail. It says, Pastor Hurst and Bible Baptist Church, thank you for allowing us to have a part of your wonderful church and family camp this year in Western Australia. I cannot tell you how much we enjoyed every bit of our visit. I was impressed with the caliber and proficiency of your church. What a great church, and what great singing. We're so glad that you made it possible for both Diana and I to be with you, to enjoy the time there with you, all of you. The experience of being in that part of the world was a real treat for us, being that it was being the first time we'd travelled to that part of the world. I'm sold on Australian rules football, he says, but much more exciting than any sport we enjoy here in the States. One of our greatest blessings was to be able to spend time with and fellowship with your fine pastor and his wife and family. You'll never know whether I just added that in or not. The Lord tells us in Proverbs 27:17 that iron sharpens iron, and that is exactly what Pastor Hurst's friendship does for me. I was pleased to see that the Lord blessed in each service that we had at the church, the city church, and at camp. Hopefully, eternity will reveal the victories that were secured in the time around the Word. I also want to thank the church for providing such a bountiful love offering. I would have paid my way to enjoy the blessings I personally received. Now he tells us, he didn't say that before, yeah, before we bought the tickets. I would have paid my way to enjoy the blessings I personally received. You blessed me on top of it all by sending me off with a generous expression of your love. Thank you very much. May the Lord bless you as you labour for him. Grateful to serve our King together, Brother Rich Farinella. So he just sending a thank you to the church for allowing him to come along. Oh man, that's like, is that like a Baptist smoke screen? Is that like we're going liberal here? We're going the bubbles. No, let's put the bubbles away. All right. All right, prayer requests tonight. This is where everyone gets itchy noses and ears. Like, it started straight away. Cornelius, good to have Cornelius back.
Thank you for your prayers for safe travels and that. Christian salvation, still praying for that.
Yeah.
But spread for me in my work situation. I've got casual work with DPD security, but I'm sick of a couple more full time. So we spread that situation.
Sure. Rhiannon. Yes. Julie. Yes. Josh. Yeah.
seed falls on the Christmas Eve Sunday. Planned last week, there's some daughter and her very professional. They're heading back tomorrow, both of them. Said church this Sunday and I have a strong feeling that this is that church is where I need to be. So I'll be well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get everyone to church wherever. It doesn't actually matter if it's church. God's definitely working about
Yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds very positive.
and also as well for the Dean Gemma mum Phyllis. She talked to me last week, but she talked to me this week after service, and she just came out and said, "Do I need to be rebaptized?" Because I was baptized in 1976, the 7-day Adventist church. So I just said to her, "Well, look, before baptism, let's just go back to salvation first." So I asked her about her salvation, and just been getting to know her the past few weeks. And she just said to me, she said, "Look, I'm 99% sure that I'm going to die. It's not good enough." So I've got to share some scripture with her that she's going through and reading this week. And just said to her, "Look, if you're not 100% sure, there's nothing wrong with getting it right now. And just pray and ask God." He said, "Because you know," and I took it at 1 John 5, that we may know. Know for sure.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now, I know it's not a private thing, it's just that this is what the Word of God says. So I said, you need to settle this first in your heart and your soul first. But she's praying about this week, and she wants to talk to me again this week about it. Just before we deal with baptism, let's go back to that as well. But she was all up for rebaptism anyway, so that's another great burden or hurdle to jump when we get to that. But just pray for her. She feels like she's loved there and that she fits in. She's been in a few churches before where she's described that she just feels like she doesn't fit in or she's frowned upon. And she can tell you we're a bit of a special group that there we get special people, but God's blessing. So just
Peter.
I'd just like to encourage you to pray for all of the nurses and the doctors that I saw in hospital and that I was able to get a chance to talk about Jesus with them. I can't remember their names, but I know that the Holy Spirit was there and enabled me to do that. It was just an absolute pleasure. And now that I'm on this side of the hospital.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, that's great. Pray for those opportunities. Seeds sown. Some might be sown, some might be watered. But, yep, pray God brings a harvest out of those sows. Any other prayer requests? Jude. Yeah.
our church services is coming Sunday.
Yep. Any other prayer requests this evening? Is that above the shoulder?
Continuation of our Bible school for next
Yeah, so we finished up Bible Institute on Tuesday. Yeah. Any other prayer requests? All right. Charlie, it's above the shoulder as well. Man, it's quiet tonight. All right, well, I'm going to force it. I don't want to look at Jeff because he came up with like 3 last week if I looked in his direction. All right, did you have your hand up again? Yes, yeah. Yeah, and they'll be here on Sunday, either the morning or the evening, one of those. Sunday morning. Yeah. Yeah. So, and Josh is preaching Sunday night, so come back on Sunday night.
Sunday night, you say?
I did, yes.
I'll make sure I make it there.
Okay. Not on Sunday night, yeah. Yeah. You had to pull out your poem. I haven't heard that one for a while, you know. Yeah. Yeah. So, no, very good. Pray for that. Pray for Sunday. Pray for our Sunday services, for sure. Lisa's family is in town. Be here Sunday. They would have been here last Sunday, but for health reasons. So just pray for them and the gospel and just the opportunities for that, for sure. Any last prayer requests? Okay. Hills Outreach. So you didn't. We had a lady contact from the Hills Outreach via the church WhatsApp, and she was contemplating baptism. She's a French lady, and was contemplating baptism, and I'm presuming from what I was getting from the conversation, wasn't much of a conversation, to be honest. What I'm presuming there was a child wanted to get baptized, like they baptized their other child. They're looking to baptize. Her husband's Australian, she's French, and they were talking about baptizing their kids, and then got attracted in their letterbox, and then reached out about whether we know anything about, could point her in the right direction about baptism. So I just said, yeah, look, I'd love to have that conversation in person, and just explain baptism, and then and again invite them along to services. So I can't remember her name, Emmeline. Yeah, that's God knows what her name is. So yeah, any other prayer requests? Got them all? All right. Zechariah chapter number 9. Zechariah chapter number 9. Zechariah chapter number 9. Follow along as I read. Verse 1 says, "The burden of the word of the Lord in the land of Hadrach and Damascus shall be the rest thereof, when the eyes of man, as of all the tribes of Israel, shall be toward the Lord. And Hamath also shall border thereby, Tyrus and Zidon, though it be very wise. And Tyrus did build herself a stronghold, and heaped up silver as the dust, and fine gold as the mire of the streets. Behold, the Lord will cast her out, and he will smite her power in the sea, and she shall be devoured with fire. Ashkelon shall see it and fear. Gaza also shall see it and be very sorrowful. Ekron, for her expectation shall be ashamed, and the king shall perish from Gaza, and Ashkelon shall not be inhabited. A bastard shall dwell in Ashdod, and I will cut off the pride of the Philistines. And I will take away his blood out of his mouth, and his abominations from between his teeth. But he that remaineth, even he, shall be for our God, and he shall be as a governor in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite. And I will encamp about mine house because of the army, because of him that passeth by, and because of him that returneth, and no oppressor shall pass through them any more, for now have I seen with mine eyes. Rejoice greatly, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem. Behold, thy king cometh unto thee. He is just and having salvation, lowly and riding upon an ass, and upon a colt, the foal of an ass. And I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim, and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off. And he shall speak peace unto the heathen, and his dominion shall be from sea even to sea, and from the river even to the ends of the earth. As for thee also, by the blood of thy covenant I have sent forth thy prisoners out of the pit wherein there is no water. Turn you to the stronghold, ye prisoners of hope. Even today do I declare that I will render double unto thee. When I have bent Judah for me, feel filled the bow with Ephraim, and raised up thy sons, O Zion, against thy sons, O Greece, and made thee as the sword of mighty man. And the Lord will be seen over them, and his arrow shall go forth as the lightning, and the Lord God shall blow the trumpet, and shall go with the whirlwinds of the south. And the Lord of hosts shall defend them, and they shall devour and subdue with sling stones, and they shall drink and make a noise as through wine, and they shall be filled like bowls, and as the corners of the altar. And the Lord their God shall save them in that day as the flock of his people. For they shall be as the stones of a crown, lifted up as an ensign upon his land. For how great is his goodness, and how great is his beauty. Corn shall make the young men cheerful, and new wine the maids. I'll just sort of hold that flood back there of comments and feedback. I know you're just itching to be just like, oh, this is amazing. These last 6 chapters are sort of hard to break up in individual chapters because they're really in, the 6 chapters are actually in 2 sections. They're actually 2 main prophecies, and they're broken up by what's known as the burden, or what he says there at the beginning. If you look at verse number 1 of chapter 9, the burden of the word of the Lord in the land of Hadrach. If you look at chapter number 12, it says the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel. So there's these 2 burdens of the word of the Lord, and they're 3 chapters each. So we're looking at it chapter by chapter, and mostly it works okay as you go through the Bible like that, but there are times when you sort of disjoint passages where the chapters are broken up. So I don't know if you've ever thought about this before, but the actual chapter divisions are not inspired. They were put together by, I think it goes back to some monk like in a long time ago, and it's I don't even know when it was. For some reason, I'm thinking like the 600s or something. Like it was a long time ago. And sometimes those verses actually, and the chapters actually break up thoughts, and they disjoint some things. It's broken down into readability, and we know verses, we know the Bible because of the chapters and the verses, but it does at times break up thoughts and break up continuous flows. And they weren't written with chapters and verses. When Zechariah wrote these, and all the Bible wasn't written with chapter and verses. And this is one of those times where it breaks up a thought. But yeah, we're here. Anyway, anybody have a thought? Even if it's a broken thought, we take broken thoughts. Yes, that was sitting on the top there. I'm surprised no one else jumped on that one. Yeah, yeah.
Very lowly, very humble. Sit there just having salvation, And in the last verse of the chapter, it says, in verse 7, it says, for how great is goodness, how great is beauty. And I think about, David when he was a young man, and people, if they looked upon him, wouldn't desire him as king. So they looked upon Saul, and Saul was really the outside. They looked at how amazing he looked, like this massive man, like this man. But Jesus' beauty is not found in good. Beauty is found in just being righteous, in that is going to bring peace. Live there. Peace is going to stretch across the whole world. And that's not what the world is. In fact,
Yeah.
it says that Satan has like
Yeah. Go to Matthew 21. Matthew 21 is where the prophecy is fulfilled. Matthew 21. Hold your place, obviously, in Zechariah. We'll be back. But while we're looking at that verse, we'll look here in Matthew 21. Matthew 21 verse 1, it says, "And when they drew nigh unto Jerusalem and were come to Bethphage, unto the Mount of Olives, then sent Jesus 2 disciples, saying unto them, Go into the village over against you, and straightway ye shall find an ass tied, and a colt with her. Loose them, and bring them unto me. And if any man say aught unto you, ye shall say, The Lord hath need of them, and straightway he will send them." Anybody else ever want to just like take someone's car and just, when you ask, "What are you doing?" "The Lord hath need of thee." I don't know if that works. I don't know if that works. He was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure." But it worked then. "The Lord hath need of them, and straightway he will send them. And all this was done that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet, saying, Tell ye the daughter of Zion, Behold, thy king cometh unto thee, meek, sitting upon an ass, and a colt, the foal of an ass." And the disciples went and did as Jesus commanded. So yeah, his whole entrance in fulfilled, coming in there and rode in from the Mount of Olives and goes in down and up into the city, which means he's coming in via the eastern gate as well at that particular time. It fulfills so many prophecies, but they, instead of taking him and making him king, they took and crucified him. And Zechariah, these last 6 chapters really cover the ministry and the future fulfillment of Jesus and Jerusalem and the Messianic reign. Because when he came in as king, they took and crucified him. But he will come back. And when he comes back again, where does he come back to? It's in Zechariah. We're jumping ahead a little bit in the story. But you might know this. Where does he actually come back to? He comes back to the Mount of Olives again. So he does. It's almost like repeating what takes place here. He comes back to the Mount of Olives. It says in Zechariah that there's a cleaving, that the Mount of Olives is split in two. Ezekiel talks about water gushing out of the throne and out of Jerusalem. And he also talks about how that the Dead Sea is going to be flushed with this fresh water, and it's going to rise up, and they're going to catch in the Dead Sea great fish like they catch in the Great Sea, meaning the Mediterranean. It means the fishermen are going to cast their nets and haul in great fish. But there's those things that are spoken of there. But thy king cometh. I have this highlighted in my Bible in verse number 5 of Matthew. Tell the daughters of Zion, Behold, thy king, that's what I have highlighted, thy king cometh unto thee, meek. I have those 2 words highlighted. Thy king, meek. Zechariah has thy king, the king, and lowly. They're not usually how you describe kings. Kings are not meek. You cross a king, you'll know it. And they're out for their own honor and their own name. And if you say anything bad against the king, man, you're gonna have it. The guards are gonna be on you. But that's not Jesus. He's meek, and meekness is not weakness. On a Wednesday night, someone here will know the answer, or maybe all of you will know the answer. Who is other than Jesus? Who is the meekest person who ever lived? It says Moses is the meekest. Moses, above men, that he was the meekest. Deliberately says that. Then you have a story that goes straight after that, which is Miriam and Aaron having issue with Moses. And they're saying, you've taken an Ethiopian woman as your wife, and that you shouldn't be, and they were having problems with Moses. And it's in that context that he is the meekest man that ever walked amongst men. And then Aaron and Miriam have issue with him. But Moses doesn't go out and go, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you who I am. And his meekness there means... I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is when you don't defend yourself. Weakness is when you don't defend anything. So Moses was meek, but he wasn't weak. He got angry, and when he broke those commandments and he came down, he was angry for a righteous cause. But he wasn't angry because they dared hurt his reputation. He was angry righteously for a righteous cause. And Jesus, there is that anger side of him as he flipped the tables, but never for himself and his own reputation, as what we often get angry for. How dare you? You've ruined my reputation. I will let you know. That's weakness. Meekness is not defending yourself, but you will defend the honor of another situation. And Jesus, though, he says that he is king and he is meek. Thy king cometh who is meek and he's lowly. It means there's a humility in Jesus, not to be confused with weakness, because he absolutely will come. It says that he will rule the nations with a rod of iron. It means he is firm and he is solid in his reign, but it's with meekness and lowliness. That's something this world has not seen. We don't know that in humanity. There have been better rulers and closer towards meekness than others, but by and large, rulers aren't meek. They're about themselves and their honor. And Jesus is like, no, he's lowly and he's meek, not his honor and his name. But yeah, those things are made mention there in verse number 9 here of Zechariah 9. Any other thoughts or out of Zechariah? We'll look at verse number 10 while if you can't find anything else that stands out to you. Verse number 10 says, and I will cut off the chariot from Ephraim and the horse from Jerusalem, and the battle bow shall be cut off. So the chariots, the horses, and the battle bow, what are those three things? War is what that is, yeah. It's meant in a military sense. And he's going to cut it off from Ephraim and from Jerusalem and from Israel. And he says, Israel is not going to have to defend herself anymore against the enemies that rise up against her. And he is saying, I'm going to come in and I'm going to speak peace unto the heathen. So the Israel isn't going to have to learn war anymore. God is going to bring peace to them, and he's going to subdue the nations round about. And the first 8 verses really has to do with God bringing judgment against the enemies of Israel that is round about her. If you were to get on a map, if you could find the map, and you were to look at Gaza, you might know where Gaza is because it's still in the news right now. That lower southern region by the coast. Ashkelon is around that same thing. Tyre is up north. Zidon, Damascus is up towards the north area. So he's saying these enemies that are round about Jerusalem that are right there pressing against him. He says, I'm going to bring judgment against you. And he says, after I bring judgment against you, this is an interesting thing. Verse 7. And I will take away his blood out of his mouth and his abominations from between his teeth. But he that remaineth, even he shall be for our God, and he shall be as a governor in Judah, and Ekron as a Jebusite. It means when God brings judgment, and this is really future. As much as Jesus has entered in and he fulfills that prophecy as the coming king, they rejected him. This is really about when he comes the second time as king and he sets up his millennial reign. He rules from Jerusalem. He rules with a rod of iron. If you look at verse number, the last part of verse number 10, it says, and his dominion shall be from sea even to sea and from the river even to the ends of the earth. We haven't seen that. Not the kingdom that Jesus is going to be setting up, the literal kingdom. As much as we are preaching the kingdom of God at the moment, which is within us, there is a literal kingdom that Jesus Christ will rule and reign over here on earth, and it will be from sea to sea and from river to the ends of the earth. He's going to rule over all nations. But he says, those remnants shall have their hearts towards God. It says in verse number 7, so he's going to do a work that is different than we have seen, that the whole world turns their heart towards God. Any other thoughts out of this before we move? Can you see anything else in chapter number 9? Is it like, I don't know. Jeff? Oh, no.
I just thought that, say, when it actually happened in Matthew and Jesus went riding into Jerusalem on the ass, if they were to look back at Zechariah, at this scripture now, when that happened, and they kept reading, and they read about how he's going to bring peace and cut off war, and like I just think of how everyone was expecting him to take the kingdom right then and there, and do all this now. Like,
Yeah.
there are other times where, like in Isaiah, it says he has to suffer before all this, but
Yeah.
just to read this, you'd think that it's all going to happen right then.
Yeah. We're going to get to it. I can't remember. I don't have it written down in front of me, but later in Zechariah, he says that he was wounded, that he comes back and he has wounds. And he said, where'd you get these wounds? I said, I got these wounds from the house of my friends. He has wounds in his hands. And so they took him and crucified him then. And when he comes back the second time, it's like when they start to realize, wow, we messed up 2,000 years ago. And there's great lamentation and mourning and weeping, like someone who mourns for their only loss of their only child, which I just couldn't imagine, the loss of an only child. And that's how they're going to weep, because they didn't take him and crown him king. They took and crucified him and said, his death be upon us and upon our children. That's what they said. Terrible. Any other thoughts out of Zechariah chapter number 9? Oh, yeah, good that Josh is here. He'll be able to answer this.
In verse 9, when Jesus, it doesn't say Jesus Christ. The word lowly here is him, or
Yes.
means meekness.
Yeah.
Us, or the donkey, or the ass, is the sign of peace. The animal is a sign of peace.
Is it?
I don't know.
I don't know. I haven't heard that, mate. I don't know if there's...
You continue reading the horses. They are strong animals.
Oh, yeah.
And the king entered, riding in the ass.
Yeah. He didn't come in on the... Yes, I'm with you. Yeah, everything about it was in meekness and lowliness. Yeah. Didn't choose the mighty, strong horse that you go out to battle in. Chose to sit on the colt, the little, yeah. A big king riding a little mule. Yeah, no, that's true. Like, I think I've never really thought of it like that, but yeah, even just the animal that he chose to ride in on shows humility and the lowliness of Jesus. If I was king, I'd be coming in with the biggest fanfare imaginable. You're right, and he comes in lowly, meek, different to all the other kings that are there. No, good observation. The guy with the animal science degree, you know. Shouldn't surprise us he comes up with the animal observation. No, very good. No, that's good. Any other thoughts before we break up in prayer tonight? I want to stretch it out too much if there's other observations in there. Like I said, it's sort of disjointed a little bit because we may do chapters 10 and 11 together next week so that we can harmonize them a bit better as an overall thought. We'll leave off there though for the moment, and we'll go to do some time of prayer here this evening. Find a prayer partner or two and bring these requests before the Lord. And then when you're done, just quietly dismiss yourself to the supper room, if you can do that.